Well, hello. I want to welcome you to the greatest video you will ever see about African Americans. I'm going to say that again. I want to welcome you to the greatest video you will ever see about African Americans. So go ahead and click on that subscribe button because I'm very fired up today and we're going to get right into it. So today's video is about the nations, the nationalities, and particularly where African Americans in the Bible. You know, this is important to know because there's a lot of prophecies given about what's going to happen at the end of days. It talks about the Philistines, the Moabites, the Edomites. It has all these ites and all these nations, but we don't know who they are today because they mixed them all up. So we're going to see today, was that on purpose? And if it was, where are we in all of this? Now, before we get started, because I'm going to get right to it, before we get started, I know that YouTube says if you don't get started with your content within 15 seconds, people are going to click off. Well, listen. If that is your attitude on this, you're never going to learn and you're never going to grow. Good things take time. I want to establish some understanding before we get into some things. Because a lot of people will ask, why is this even important? Because the scriptures say, 1 Thessalonians 5:21, it says, prove all things and hold on to what's true. So right now, we live in a world where we have truth, but there's parts taken out of the truth. So if that's the case, then that's not truth. Any part of the truth that's not included in the truth makes the whole thing a lie. So that's why, because it's truth, we look into this about African Americans, because it's truth and truth is good. I have another people saying they don't believe it, they don't believe different things and all this different stuff. And, you know, this isn't what the norm says. This is not what Christianity says. Listen, Proverbs 18:13 says, if you answer a matter before you hear it, it says you are a fool. Now, I'm not calling you a fool, but I'm just telling you what the Bible says. At least take the time to listen. All the nonsense and smut that people take the time, I'm talking about Christians, take the time to listen to, let alone non-Christians. Take the time to listen to what is 40 minutes that's going to change your life forever, that you'll be able to make you a monster, because the point of this video is to make you a monster in the scriptures. Because I'm going to be talking about soon. You don't need a Strong's, you don't need a Matthew Henry concordance, you don't need any of those things to get strong in the scriptures. And by the time that this 40-minute video is over, you're going to be stronger than even those guys. You're going to be stronger than a Strong's. You're going to be stronger than a Matthew Henry commentary. You're going to be stronger than a Blue Letter Bible. That's the point, because the scriptures say not only to do the things, not only to do the things that he says, but also to teach others to do them. And that's what I'm doing today, and that's what I want you to do. Another thing, we have to learn this stuff, because just like in African American History Month and all this other stuff, all the black church has been doing, all black people have been doing, it's just circling around the mountain. God showed me this. We've been circling around the mountain. This is 2 Timothy 3:7. Ever learning, never able to come into any truth. We study different things. We study money every week. And then the next week is prosperity. Then the next week is healing. Then the next week is faith. Then the next week is just recycles. And you do this for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, almost 100 years of your life. And you never really come into any truth, because the first 10 minutes of this video, once you see a couple of things, you're going to be like, wow. I mean, it's going to be more truth than you've ever gotten in your life. More truth than you've ever gotten in your life. Now, last thing I want to get into before we get right into this, study to show yourself approved. This comes from 2 Timothy 2:15, but the problem I have with this scripture, the way people take this today, is because they think it's, oh, God studied the Strong's, God studied the Matthew Henry. You don't need any of this stuff. I am going to show you how Matthew Henry and how Strong's came up to their conclusions, and they came to their conclusions through the scriptures. You know, there isn't some magic book. I always thought there was some magic book that these guys were using to get their information out of and then to put it in this book. No, it's all to sell books and to make you dumber. That's the point, to make you dumber in the scriptures and to sell books. That is the point of these so-called guides. A lot of these guides, they have information that is not true, but a lot of them have information that is true, that isn't proliferated, and we're going to talk about why. So my point today is, we don't need a Strong's. We don't need a Strong's or any other concordance in order to understand what God is saying. So what we're going to do is we're going to get right into it. Let's get right into Genesis chapter 10. Why Genesis chapter 10? Genesis chapter 10. Now, this is what I'm trying to say. The conspiracy, people talk about conspiracy. First of all, people who use the word conspiracy know that you're using a CIA term. This term came from the 60s, okay? And there might be a few of you who were born during that time, but this term came from the 60s in which it was talking about people who knew that the Kennedy assassination wasn't on the up and up. So the JFK assassination, people were saying back then, like, nah, something's going on. Maybe there are multiple shooters. Maybe the government set them up. That's what they were saying back then. So the CIA came out with a term to counter that, to say, call those people buffoons and that they were conspiracy theorists, right? But now we have 60, 70 years or whatever, how many years later it is, now they're still coming out with treasure troves of files. In fact, the president just made an executive order to put out more information about what was being hidden. So always know that they do that. And the conspiracy, the bigger the amount, the more amount of smoke, just like the Wizard of Oz, the more amount of smoke that they put around something, that is probably the bigger the truth that's behind that. So now, when we get right here to the table, this is called the Table of Nations. This recently changed. This is why I hate the Blue Letter Bible, because they are liars. Blue Letter Bible, as soon as black people come up on some stuff, then they start changing stuff, and they've changed stuff in this and in their concordances. So this was always Genesis 10. You can look this up in Google, put Genesis 10 Table of Nations. Genesis 10 has always been considered the Table of Nations, or what's more precise is the Table of Nationalities. Okay. So when we start talking about nations in the Bible, that word is really today nationalities. Okay. So Genesis has been the nationality. So let's go right to Genesis 10. So Genesis 10, we know that there were three sons of Noah. We know there was Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Those are the three sons of Noah. Now, what I want to show you here, I want to show you. And we're not going to get, it's not going to be so evident in Genesis 10, but when we go to later on in Genesis with Jacob's sons, it's going to be very evident. The way Hebrew works, okay, and these are not Hebrew names that we're about to get into in Genesis 10, but the way Hebrew works and the way Ham works, Ham's sons and Shem's sons for sure. I'm not quite sure about Jacob's son, but Ham's sons and Shem's sons for sure. The name is what it is. There is no definition. Okay, it's like the people that have the name Sunshine or May, or you may have someone Grace, right? You don't need to look. If someone has the name Grace, you don't need to look up what the word Grace is. You know what that is. That's how the names work. In English, it's the exact opposite. All the names are based on how something sounds. So now you have something that sounds really good, like Didymus or something, right? That's actually a name out of the Bible, right? But that has no English equivalent. It doesn't mean anything to us. Back then, that's not how the names work, okay? So we're about to get into this because we're about to see the names that we're given were actually, these first names that we're given were actually the names of the land or characteristics of the people, okay? So now, let's get into this. His first son, Genesis 10:2, Japheth. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Hadai, Javan, Tubal, Mesh, Tyrus, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenath, Rithpal, and Tomarga. This is why you need to get good at this, because this will tell you this right here is part of some of the buffoonery that they do with mixing up the names, like Chinese. There's no Chinese in the Bible. There's no Indian in the Bible. There's no African American in the Bible. There's no blacks in the Bible. There's no Negro in the Bible. There's no white person in the Bible, right? So this is how they're able to do it. There's no Mexican in the Bible. This is how they're able to do this nonsense, because they know we don't know this basic stuff. So all these names, they mean something. They mean something. They mean something, and geographically they mean something. Now, the people living in these lands that we're about to go over with these three sons, the people living in these lands back then are not the same people who are living there now. This is what we need to get out of our mind. Everyone in the planet has been misplaced and displaced by one nation of people. There's one nation of people that Psalms calls the wicked. We'll get into that at another video. But they have been displaced by everybody. So when I say displaced, I mean that they've allowed immigration or other things to come in, or they have killed the indigenous people. Like, I didn't know this to the 2000 Olympics, that the people in Australia weren't the original people. It was the Aboriginals. You can go look that up. We found that out from I think that race 200 meter racer. I think her name was Grace Jones or something like that, or Marion Jones. Marion Jones. They had a story on her about how the Aboriginals were the original people there, and the people in Australia went and killed and wiped out everybody. And this is a black woman. It sounds very familiar. What does it sound like? Exactly what happened in America, right? So people 5,000 years from now, looking back at America, would think that it was founded by Europeans. No, it was an indigenous people that got killed and wiped out by the Europeans. The same thing that happened to the Australians. So these names that we're about to read, the people living there aren't necessarily the people who were there back then. However, it does show you about the landmass and the region. So this is how you read this. Go right to Genesis. Okay. Like I said, I do not like Strong's, but this will help us get things started. Okay. So now when we go and look at something like Gomar, okay, we want to go and look at Gomar. This will help you understand the scriptures because these names come up in the prophecies later on. Okay. Gomar, the eldest son of Japheth, the grandson of Noah, the progenitor of the early Cimmerians and other branches of the Celtic family. Now, in the USA, we pronounce this Celtic, but this is the Celtic family. What is this? This is the Irish. Okay. So the Irish are the original Irish. Okay, not the Irish today, but the original Irish were from Gomar. Okay, so let's keep going. We know about Tubal. Okay, Tubal is the next one. Okay, Tubal. I just skipped over Javan. We'll go back to Javan. Okay, Tubal, a region in East Asia Minor, perhaps nearly equal to Cappadocia. So what is this? This is going to be Turkey. Okay, Cappadocia, Turkey. So this is where these people are originally going. So now we're seeing a picture here. Japheth's sons are now headed towards towards the northeast. Okay, let's keep on going. We read about, what did we do? We just did Tubal. Okay, so we want to do Javan. Okay, Javan is here. Now, for those of you who speak, multiple languages or study international languages, and Greek is one of the ones that I study, we have Iona. We know, for those who study international language, Iona is Greece, and it has right here Greece. So now we have the descendants of Javan. Now they've moved into the Greece region, the Greece region. So this is showing you, the scriptures are showing you where these people originally. You've never seen this before. The church has never talked about this before. Because pretty soon you're going to be talking about black folks. So they've never talked about this before. You've never seen this before. So thank God, God, thank you for the opportunity for me to get this information. So let's keep going. So now we talked about Gomar, we talked about Tubal, we talked about Javan. Let's go to Kittim. Okay? Because Kittim was a son of Javan. Okay, and you can do this with all these nations. You can do this and find out where their original landmass was. And when you do this with Kittim, okay, I don't know if it's going to tell you this right here. Here it is right here. The Greeks or Romans on the shore opposite Palestine. Kittim, so this was Cyprus, denoting Cyprus. Kittim, so this is what we call Rome. So ancient Rome came from Kittim. So the ancient Romans were over in Kittim. Okay, so now I want to show you the ancient Romans were originally called from Kittim. They changed their name over time. So now I want to show you this. Let's look at this. If you look at all the land masses that we named, Turkey, we named Italy? We named Italy. We named Rome. All these places are up here. These were all his descendants. So all his sons, they named themselves after their lands, and this is where they had. I don't know if my cursor is showing up on here, but this is where they had up here. This red. This is where they had. This is where they were. They had dominion over. Okay. Now let's keep going. Okay. So what I want to show you with this. Let's keep going. So now we have. I just want to show you this. Japheth's sons: Gomar, the original Irish; Tubal, the original Turkey; Javan, the original Greeks; Kittim, the original Italians, or this should actually be Romans, Italians, Romans. Rome is Italy. Rome, Italy. So original Romans, Italy. Then Ashkenaz. This should be one that you've heard of before. We know Ashkenaz Jews. Ashkenaz, the Germans. Okay, this is Germany, even to this day. So this is why they call themselves Ashkenaz Jews, because they're saying we are not the Jews from Shem. We are the Jews from Ashkenaz. We just called ourselves this. So this is very important. This is good. Now we're going to get to the nuts and bolts of it, because they've always told us. They always told us African Americans. They told you are African and you are from Ham. Now this is what they have generally said. I went to Christian school from about K through about 12 minus about 2 years. This is what has always been said. I've been to multiple churches. This is what has always been generally said. Black people come from Ham. This is not true. Black people across the world probably do come from Ham, but not us. Not us. Now, I want to tell you something about a particular source. If you do not have this, you will need to spend the money on this. This is only $10. This is the Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary. Now, here's the way I do sources. The way I do sources, I never go to a source that agrees with what I have to say or agrees with even what the scriptures have to say. The first source that I find to actually extract information is sources of people that hate us. The people that actually propagate hateful things and different things in the world, and I see what they have to say about the scriptures. And if what they have to say about the scriptures actually mirrors it, then I use that, because I'm showing people that there's no bias here. See, I show people that I don't need bias. I can just go to books all day and show black who they are, who the Africans are, who the white people are. I can do that all day, but you won't believe it. So what I do is I go to books I go to sources that you love. I wouldn't use the Zondervan's for anything, but the Zondervan's is well known. This is the #1 Bible dictionary in the world, in the globe. It's not even a question. Okay, this family actually. We had to actually chance to meet this family by accident. My wife ended up working for this family a couple of years ago by accident, because the Zondervan's bookstore is in Zondervan's publishing is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Now, if you don't know about the Zondervan family, this family was involved. They financed the slave trade. You can look this stuff up. They hate black people. Okay, so anything they have to say about us, I'm very interested, because if it correlates with the scriptures, then you can't deny it. And unfortunately, I got to deal with that with our people. I just can't come out and show information. I got to show people who hate us that you like. Oh, we like the Ashkenaz Jews. We like Europeans. We like these different ministers. So I say, okay, well, this is what these ministers have to say about us. Okay, so now the Zondervan's Dictionary is only $. It's worth the buy. You have to have this. To me, you are not serious about studying if you don't have this, because this is what has been used for decades to discern and to be able to create Bible lessons. Any of this Bible colleges, any of this stuff, all use the Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary. It's indisputable, the #1 Bible dictionary that there is. Now, like I said, they just get their information from the Bible, but they put it in a concise way. Now, here's why I want to deal with this, because now we go back to Genesis. Now I want to deal with Now I want to deal with Ham, because this is where they say we came from. So now when you start looking at Ham, okay, we start looking at the definitions of his sons, because like I said, back then, whatever your name was, that's what it is. You didn't need a definition. So it's just like, if your name was hot or black, that's what your name was. We knew it was because you were black. Well, let's guess what this guy's name was. Cush means black. Cush means black. Cush means black. Now, let's see what this has to coincide with the people who hate us. These are people who hate us. This is what they have to say about Ham. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably 96 years before the flood. Like I said, you can get this. I have tons of these. You can get this book. It's $10. You can get older ones. I recommend get the older ones from the 60s, because those are even better. The newer ones, they end up changing words, but they didn't change too much of the meaning, but they did change the words to make it more complicated to understand. But this is a staple. If you're going to do, I would not spend another $1 even at another ministry. I would not, I would, all other priorities are rescinded until you spend $10 on this. The youngest, this is Black History Month. You want to know about who you are? The Bible is showing you who we were. This guy, the first son right out the bat that was from African, because he was in Africa, his name was Cush. He was dark, he was burnt, he was dark skinned. We're going to learn about that. We're a little bit about what Solomon's wife had to say about this. He became the progenitor, watch this, of the dark races, but not the Negroes. Wait, I want to read that again. This son, Ham, there's only 3 sons. There's only 3. We dealt with Japheth. Japheth was over in northern, what we call Europe today, but it wasn't called that. It was the Japheth land. And then we get to Ham. He's like, yeah, he's the progenitor of all the dark races, but the blacks, African Americans, the Negroes in particular, no, they're not from him. There's only 3 sons. The last son is Shem. And where did Abraham come from? Shem. This right here is enough to break. This nut right here is enough to. This Put the thumbs up on the screen right now, not for me, so they can be moved in the algorithm so our people can see this, because they've been circling around the mountain. I'm not reading books. I can give you Babylon to Timbuktu. I can give you Josephus. I can give you tons of books. I can give you Black Indians. I can give you Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. All these books are written by Black people that tell you this is what it is about our people, but you won't believe those, okay? And I'm not even putting it on you because I didn't believe it, right? But now when you start going into the scriptures, I got nothing to say about it. So what I repent, hush my mouth, humble myself, and that's how you get exalted. Humbling yourself, admitting that you know nothing. And African American Blacks, you've never seen this before. You have never seen an entry that's right. Listen, any Bible college, Oral Roberts, Wayman, Tinsdale, any reputable TCU, Texas Christian University, any reputable Bible college has this as a staple. You must have a Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. And they are telling you right here in this Bible Dictionary, he became the progenitor of the dark races, but not the Negroes. Now, this is how you know the fix is in. The one that say which of the sons the Negroes come from. You see how they do that? This is the equivalent of taking the straw away to build the bricks. They'll always make it difficult for you. They'll tell you what it's not, but they won't tell you what it is. So no, he was not the progenitor of the blacks. So that's wrong. So Black people, Negroes do not come from Ham. And I'm reading in this, we're taking this from this, we're reading this from Genesis 10, because we're about to get into the rest of his sons. They're saying, no, the Negroes don't come from here, but the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. Right here. The Egyptians, the Libyans, the Ethiopians, and the Canaanites, this should scare a lot of you. This should scare a lot of you. Why? Because the Ethiopians, because we know that the people in the land of Canaan, we always were told those were white people, but those were actually Black people. The people in the land of Canaan were Black people, Canaanites. So when they talk about the Canaan land, those are Black people living in that land. When they talk about Pharaoh, that was a Black man. Pharaoh was a Black man. So now it makes sense how Moses could have ascended to the throne, because if we find out Moses was a Black man, and what do we know? Moses's to-be wife told her father, the priest of Midian, what did he say? We were out with our animals, and an Egyptian came to help us with our horses. She said an Egyptian came. Why? Because Moses looked as dark and just like the Egyptians. This is why God said, no, I have put a difference between the Egyptians and the Israelites. Why? Because they look the same. Paul was also, in Acts 21, we saw Paul was actually, when Paul was taken to account for letting the people into the temple, he started to speak, and the guy said, what? We're going to get into that. He said, you speak Greek? He said, you're an Egyptian, aren't you? He said, no, I'm an Israelite. This right here is enough. This right here is enough to forward. This should be blasted. You should want to know more. You should want to know more, because if they hit this much, what is there? What more is there? Because there's something for you. There's a reason why you haven't made it here in America the way we should. While us paying our tithes, the barn door wasn't busting open with gold. We didn't have all the health that we should have. We didn't have the lands that we possess. Why? Because this is not our rest. And God is showing, he's releasing this now, that this is not your rest, because he's showing you they've been lying to you the whole time. The people that you've been propping up, the people that you've been thinking they could do you no wrong, yes, they're only friends with you because they took your inheritance. This is the only reason they're friends with you. They'll tolerate you because they took your inheritance. So what if I'm nice to a Black person? So what if I befriend him in church? So what if I call them my brother and my sister? So what if I do this? I took the inheritance. Go back to this. So this right here is huge. And this is the problem with the Black church. This is why 50 million people have left the church since 2000. They're not coming back, because the church has no answers. Because all they want to do is just spew Christian doctrine instead of going into the actual scriptures. So it says no. So now I got to look at the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyan, and Canaanites. I got to find that in the scriptures. Okay, so let's work that in the scriptures. I happen to know this because, like I said, I've studied this for a while. Mizraim, this is one of Ham's sons, is Mizraim. Cush, we know, was Black. Okay, Cush, we go back to Black. Cush was Black. Now let's go to Mizraim. What does Mizraim mean? The word Mizraim is Egypt. But that's what this just said. Egypt. He was the progenitor of Egypt. So according to the scriptures, all original Egyptians, not the ones who are there today who've who've taken over that land and who killed and murdered a bunch of people to get into that land. Not those people. The original Egyptians were black. They were dark. Cush was black. Okay, let's keep going. Put. This is another son of Ham. What is Put? The Libyans. That's exactly what this says. See, I'm making you, what you just see right here. I'm taking a source that hates black people. But they'll put the truth in there, but you'll never get it because you won't take the time. Our people won't take the time to actually go into the scriptures to show this is true. They rather just go to a Bible dictionary. That's not the way to do it. The doing is to go to the scriptures first. So once you find out that Ham's sons were coming out black, different shades of black, right? And Cush was the most black. Now we know that. Okay, let's just keep going. Okay. So the Libyans, okay, and then we have Canaan, okay. Okay, sure enough, Canaan was a son of Ham, so this is correct. Canaan was a son of Ham, so this is, Canaan was a son of Ham, so this is correct. Canaan was a son of Ham, so this is right. So this is where these people came from. And these weren't the only people, right? These are just examples of those races, okay? So now I want to get into something because now the scriptures say it's a privilege for the Most High to show a mystery, but it's the honors of kings to go ahead and find and decipher the mystery. Now we only have 2 of the 3 sons, but now we can start working a little bit, because what do we know about all the patriarchs? Their wives. All their wives we know come from one of these sons. All the patriarchs' wives come from sons that were Cushites, Mizraim, Put, Canaan. Let's actually deal with the first. Let's actually deal with Moses's. We're gonna deal with Moses's wife, and I have this on a tab, but since I went a different direction, here we go. And Miriam, that's Moses' sister, spake, and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman he had married. Now, we didn't read about Ethiopia in Genesis in Genesis 10, did we? No. But now this is where you can use the strong. See, don't depend on the Strongs. Use the Strongs for what it is. It's a tool, but you have to know what you're doing. Like I'm working on a project right now to get my car fixed. I'm working on the project, but I'm reading up on the tools. So now that when I'm using the tools, I know what to do. I don't just go ahead and get the tool and then try to figure it out. It's just a waste of time and money. So I'm working, so I'm learning. So now when I get the tool, I can know. So now you're learning so you can get the tool. This is the opportunity that you're taking to learn to get the tool. It says she was an Ethiopian woman, okay? But we know Ethiopian wasn't there. So what did they do? They replaced that word Ethiopian with the Bible. You go to the original word. The original word is Cush. I just went to the root word. This is all I did. I went to here, okay? And then I went to root word. I just clicked on that, and it says it right here, a Cushite woman, Ethiopian. Okay, here we go. Cushite or Ethiopian. Their blackness. What was the very first one that we read in Genesis 10? The very first one, we'll read it again. Okay, the very first one we read was Cush. Cush was of Ham. Okay, and what do we read? Cush, what do we say? Black. So his wife was not just a black woman, she was dark black. She was jet black, or like we call blackety black. So the Cushites, their blackness, this is what their name meant, their blackness. That's interesting. Moses' wife was black. Okay, let's see what they had to say. Let's see what they had to say about Moses. Let's go to Exodus 2:19. We're not gonna be able to get to all of them today, but we'll get to enough where you'll want to spur you on your own. This is her. This is Moses' wife talking to her father, Jethro. I believe this was her father-in-law, was Jethro. And she said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds and drew water for us and watered their flock. An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of shepherds and also drew water for the flock. This is what she said happened. So Moses looked black. Let's see how this could have happened. Because a lot of you are wondering, well, how could that have happened? Let's see this. Let's go to Acts 21. Okay? Now listen, I haven't got to the good part because I'm showing you who everybody else is. I showed you who everyone else is. I didn't show you us. I haven't gotten to the good parts. Okay? So now let's go to Acts 21 and 37. Here's Acts 21 and 37. This is Paul when he was asked by the magistrate. This is Paul talking to the magistrate. Paul was talking to him. This is 21 and 37. So see, I'm using all scriptures. So you can get your Bibles out. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said to the chief captain, "May I speak unto thee?" And the chief captain said, who said, "Can thou speak Greek?" Watch this. "Art thou not that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar and led us out in the wilderness, 4,000 men that were murderers?" So he was surprised. He looked at him, he was like, okay, man, this Ethiopian guy is over here. And now Paul's asking him to speak. And he was like, wait, hold on. You can speak Greek? Paul actually spoke Greek to him to say, "Can I speak?" He's like, wait, you speak Greek? You're an Egyptian. Wait, hold on here. This is monumental. See, this is the stuff that we skip over. The devil's in the details. I'm trying to get our people to our inheritance. So I'm hoping you guys will forward this and make this go viral. Like we make a lot of stupid stuff go viral. Like people putting like random things in the toilet and just watching it spin and getting 80 million views, 300 million views. This is the stuff on TikTok gets 300 million views. I am showing you a heritage that was stolen in the scriptures. And then what comes with that, if we get back to our heritage, if we repent and get back and say, God, we're sorry for following these false doctrines. It seemed right, but you know what? We got mesmerized by the name. We got mesmerized by the lights. We got mesmerized by the cars and their planes and their money. And the scriptures talk about none of that stuff if you're preaching his word. None of that stuff. Name me someone who's balling out. If Christ wasn't balling out of control, then nobody should be balling out of control without regard first for your people and setting up a venue in which you're doing things for his people. Paul was like, man, I'm starving to this day. I've been in those situations. Elijah was in those situations. No one doing something. Moses actually stepped down when he saw the plight of his people. He actually stepped down. So if he was a black man, considered to be a black man, and he knew those are his people, then the Hebrews are black. So I'm tired of having these discussions with these Christians who just want to go with the norm, because I'm seeing this now today. Like everyone could be for president or against the president, but as soon as someone gets in power, I see this, everyone just jumps in line. Oh, we're with this person. I'm like, wow, man, you just said this, you just did this. I've been seeing it for the last 20 years. I'll look at what the people will say on Wall Street about Obama or whatever. And then boom, next thing you know, they're in this cabinet. I'm like, wow, man, you hated black people. You said this Negro, blah, 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 blah. You called him a monkey and all this other stuff. John McCain, we've seen it with different people. Like, nah, man, you need to do my eulogy. You're not fit to be a president. You're just a monkey. But when I die, we want you to do my eulogy. We see it right now. Different people, Washington Post, Facebook, all these groups. We're anti the president. We're taking him off the platform now. Man, he's on the not only that, no, we're changing our policies. See, when you follow the norm, you're going to get less than what you're going to get. Even when you settle for less, you will get less than what you're settling for. Because those people know they're settling. Those people know that they're selling out. These people in this world, they know that they're doing that. You don't know. But we'll follow them, even though I'm showing you right here in the scriptures. It's just using simple, God's breaking this thing down. He said, Damon, I'm going to give my people all the answers to the test. It's up to them whether they wanted to believe it or not. You say you believe this Bible. Moses was called an Egyptian, and so was Paul. Paul was one of the 12 tribes. He was from Benjamin. Okay, so this means all the 12 tribes were black people. Moses was from the tribe of Levi. Okay, Moses, the Levites. Levi was a brother of Judah, Reuben, and Simeon. Judah is where the Jews come from. That's where the Jews come from, not Jewish. This guy wanted to debate me and start arguing to me about the scriptures. We started talking about this stuff. He said the Jews come from Jewish. I'm like, man, what are you talking about? Like, he really thought there was a person named Jewish in the Bible. There's no person named Jewish in the Bible. It's actually a slander. It's actually a slur. It's racial slur to call someone Jewish. Because anytime you put the word ISH to it, what does it mean? It means like or pertaining to. Look this up for the smart Negroes out there. Like or pertaining to, but not the original. That's what ish means. I'll be there at 5-ish. Doesn't mean I'll be there at 5. Like or pertaining to. That color is yellowish. It's not yellow. Like or pertaining to, but not the original. So Jewish comes from Judah, which means to praise the Lord. Okay? So now, if Moses, now we have Moses was called a black man. He was called a Mizraim. They're like, you are Mizraim. You are black. You're from Ham. You're with Cush. Cush is your brother. He's like, no, man. No, Moses. No, I'm actually an Israelite. Paul. Oh man, you're an Egyptian. No, man, I'm actually an Israelite. No, I'm a black person. We look alike. Our colors are alike, but we're different. So right here, this is enough. This is enough to, if you're sincere, to make you want to even know even more. Because this is only 20 minutes in. This is blockbuster. Ham. Are you trying to tell me Ham is the progenitor of all black people, but not the Negroes? You notice how they separated it out and said Negro. They didn't say not the blacks, not the Negroes. It's a $10 book you can get, and that's not the only Bible dictionary that has it. Most of them have that. All right. So let's keep going. So we have Moses. So I want to talk about this. So we have Moses. Moses's wife was a Cushite. Moses was considered an Ethiopian. He was also considered black. Paul was considered black. Let's go to Solomon. Let's go to Solomon to find out what Solomon's wife, one of Solomon's wives were. This is Song of Solomon 1:5. I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Just to make no mistake about it, look not upon me because I am black. Why? Because the sun have looked upon me. Look not upon me because I'm black. The sun have looked upon me. So you're trying to tell me all of our patriarchs? I'm not even going to get to you guys already know about Hagar. Hagar was an Egyptian. So we already know about Sarah, and them. They were Hamites. Like, I'm not even going to even get into, like, all the patriarchs had black women as wives, and they came out a pure white race. Because that's what they say. They're a pure white race. Every single one of them had black wives, and Moses was black. We need to stop this nonsense. What did she say? I am black but comely. She's like, I may be black, but that's the same thing today. I'm black, but I'm beautiful. O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar. This gets better, because I want to know about what the Bible dictionary has to say about a certain word, and that word is the word ruddy. Okay. And before we go, I just want to show you this. You look this up yourself. Every ancient map in Africa, every ancient map of Africa has the Arabian Peninsula as a part of Africa. Not the new ones where the Europeans come in and destroyed this. Not the new ones. All the new ones have, Israel is a separate land. No, it makes sense. In fact, even when I showed you the original, think about this. Ham's original, where Ham was originally, this is where they say Ham was originally, that's in Israel. That's in Israel. So that's how you know those aren't the original people. Ham, if you look at where Ham had Canaan. Canaan land is the land of Israel. Let me say that again. Canaan land is the land of Israel. Don't change the answer now because we found this. This is what they do. Canaan land is the land of Israel. Well, that shows this green stuff. And even though this is not even the newest map, this is the map from probably the 1900s. This shows that Israel is an African nation. Israel's an African nation. Let's keep going because I want to know about David in them. Like this is some of the things that I want to know. I want to know about David. What did they consider? What was David considered? Okay, so we're going to keep going because one of the things that we know David was considered was ruddy. Now this is undisputable. If you want to get that, I think it's 1 Samuel 17:42. It says David was ruddy in nature. The Philistines called David a ruddy man. They've always said that was a red man, so meaning white person. That's not true per se. So let's actually go into the Bible dictionary and find out what the Bible dictionary has to say. Like I said, this is not a new dictionary. I have one that's from the 60s, so I know it's been out since at least since then. And like I said, this dictionary don't like black people. They actually hate black people. So they're not trying to do us any favors. Ruddy, a word used to refer to a red or fair complexion in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. In contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. What color skin do the dark Hebrews have? We already knew it, dark skin. Why do we know it? Not because Zonderman's told us, because the Bible tells us. See, this is why we got to get out of this. Let every man be a liar, let God be true. We have it just the opposite. If man says this, or if our interpretation of what Paul says, even though Paul says, follow me only as I follow Christ, no, we'll make up a whole doctrine called the Pauline doctrine, the Pauline writings. They actually say this in Christendom. Pauline, like they actually will ascribe glory and honor and a doctrine to a man's name who he didn't even have the full understanding of different things. And we'll follow him, and we'll follow that because the pastors, because they have these churches and they have these big buildings and they have Bentleys and they have cars and they have planes and they have money and they have the lives that we want to have. But you don't really want those lives. What does it say right here? It says David was a ruddy man. It says he was ruddy. As opposed to dark skin. Does this mean David was white? No, David could not have been white because he was from the tribe of Judah. The same tribe as Jesus was from. They tried to tell us about this in good times, but we laughed at it. But they tried to tell you the truth. But we laughed at it. So what does this mean? What do we have to have this today? This is what we call red bone. Do you remember what they called? Remember what they called red bone? Remember what they called fair skinned, very, very fair complected women back in the 60s and 70s? Called them red bone. I'm bringing it up right now. One of the people who was called this was actually Sinbad. Sinbad the comedian, he was actually called a red bone his whole life. It is right here. Red bone African American woman. This is what it is. Red bone African American women. So now, when we talk about red bone, right? When we talk about red bone, that is today's ruddy. So that is what this is. So let's listen. Are you going to say just because you want, listen, I know this may hurt. I know this may be new information. And that's okay though. See, here's the thing. It's okay to get the new information. It's okay for your whole life to be a lie. Why? At least you didn't die like that. I had a grandmother that died not knowing the truth about all this stuff. I had other friends that died early not knowing the truth about all this stuff, right? And some of these people were more holy and righteous than us. It was nothing for them to go on a 40-day fast. I had one person I used to spend time with, a church mother. She went on not 1, 2 40-day fasts. So now we have the opportunity to learn. We have to unlearn this. But we can't say this is my teaching. This is coming right out the scriptures, and it's coming right out of sources who hate you. So that you know they're not going to do any favors and tell you the truth, anything that helps you. And this is information that helps you. This is information that helps you. So we just have to admit, you know what? We were wrong. It didn't profit us anything. That's what the scriptures say. All you have to do is say, hey, you know what? We were wrong. It didn't profit us anything. Then he'll bring you into the truth. Okay? So now we have David was a light-skinned person. He was a red bone. He was light-skinned, close to the dark skin of the Hebrews. Okay? Now, let's actually get this one as well. Let's get Samson, because we gotta talk about this. We talk about this. Judges 14. I believe Samson's is Judges 14. Now we know Delilah, she was a Philistine. So I'm about to show you something about the Palestinians. Okay? And how that whole thing is a lie. Okay? And Samson went down to Timoth and saw a woman, Timoth, which you don't know, that's a Hamite. But if you look up the genealogies, I just showed you how to look up the genealogies. And the daughters of the Philistines. Okay? So now, and then his father said to him, is there never? No. And she came up and told his mother and father and said, I've seen a woman to Timoth and the daughters of the Philistines. Now, therefore, get her for me to wife. Now, this was not Delilah. I believe this was his first wife. But we know Delilah was a Philistine. Delilah was definitely a Philistine. Let's look at now. I showed you how to use these sources. I told you how to use this to go and find out what these names actually are. Okay. Now, when we go to Philistine, we have here immigrants and inhabitant of Philistia, the descendants of Mizraim. So what does it mean? The descendants of Mizraim is Egyptians. So they're Egyptians. Where are Egyptians from? Ham. Do you see how you're doing that? Egyptians are from Ham. Egyptians are from Ham. So now these are people descended from Egyptians who immigrated to Crete, the western seacoast of Canaan. Okay, now let's see if we can get this from the root word. Here we go. Root word is Philistia or Palestine. This is the root word. Philistia, land of sojourners, journey to territory on the west coast of Canaan, or the entire country of Palestine. What was Delilah? A black woman? Delilah was a black woman. The original Palestinians are black. So those people, that black people you've been fighting for. See, you let Rashida Tlaib and them trick you into throwing out Kwame's mother for doing nothing. And then you go with her, right? And you let her trick you to fight for who? She's fighting for her people. She's fighting for her people. But her people, those are not even her people. They're not even the real Palestinians. See, that's my problem with it. If you know who the real Palestinians are, people won't raise $1 for them. They won't do anything for a GoFundMe. But if they also have lighter skin, we'll call them the Palestinians. That's what these people do. They lie. It says they name lands after their own name. That's what these people do. They lie. These people are liars. So we just learned that the Philistines, and you can look this up, you can do the etymology, look into a dictionary, you can learn that look into the etymology. The etymology will tell you more than the dictionary. But the Philistines are from the land of Canaan, which is all black people. Okay? So I didn't even really I'm just gonna be done now. I'm gonna be done. We're not done, but I'm just choosing to quit right now. Because I already given you enough to be like, I'm doing this. I'm not going to ask. So I don't ask for any type of support on any videos that deal with the scriptures, because that's actually against the scriptures to do that while you're in the scriptures. This is Black History Month, so I'm not doing that. Even though it's Black History, I'm considering it's a Black History video. We went into some scriptures, but we do appreciate any support that you would give the Black History just as a separate thing, not so much as a ministry thing, to be able to show more people this. I need to be able to get this in the algorithm. I need to help get Google advertisers. I need to get this in the algorithm to show people so the young people can get this. And everyone can make the choice. The people who've learned wrong, you can do the same thing I did. I had to unlearn to be like, nah, this is the truth. I don't care what this person said. I don't care who this is. This is a lie. This is the truth. You have the opportunity now. Now it's the opportunity to go into the greater. But you're not going to get the greater unless you get this, because all they're going to do is take it from you again. See, I got into the last video. The way this works is Israel has to be on top and all the other nations have to be on the bottom. There is no middle ground. Now we're starting to see that. Now you're starting to see the shaking. People are starting to feel it now. People are starting to feel that shaking. But why? Because black people are moving up. So what do you have to do? You have to have constant barrage of policies and constant things that they've always done. This is not recent. This is what they've done our whole entire lives. This is why they want America to go back to the way it was, so we can be the submissive black folks, so they can have rulership over us and do even more and steal even more from us. This is what they want. But because it's coming from the church, it can't be a lie. But listen, there says there can be people who are doing great miracles, raising people from the dead. Depart from me, I never knew you. These are people who work in iniquity. How do you know you're working in iniquity? You're working exactly against the scriptures saying. Everything we went over today was from the scriptures, and I used the sources to show. I used the sources to show that these sources on these different things were true according to the scriptures. According to the scriptures, that's what we showed on this. All right. So I thank you for watching. If you like this, please subscribe, give it a like, make a comment. It helps in the algorithm. It helps. At least if you can do that for me, that would be greatly appreciated. I got a ton more. I got to get to our people. We got to get to it, because now is the time. Now is the time of the end. Now is the time of end. We got to. This is just the tip of the iceberg. This is not even 0.0001% out of the 100% that God has for it that He wants to show us. I thank you for watching this video. God bless you. I'll see you soon.